and we're listening to all kinds of views.
We're trying to clear the air, unfortunately. I think there's one other question that I would like to ask, if that's okay. While you're using this forum, may I ask one last question? Okay. The question is, at the end of April, you had the press conference with us, and you said very clearly, we were not told that waterboarding or any of these other enhanced interrogation methods were used.
That's right. I mean, we in that meeting, in the briefing that I received, we were not told that in fact, we were told that waterboarding was not being used, because that's sort of one that stood out.
So in that press conference, we were all clearly trying to get at the broader question of whether you knew about waterboarding at all. And the idea that we got from you was that you were never told that waterboarding was being used. But now we know that later in February, you were told. It wasn't in that briefing, but you were told. So
no, by the time we were told, we are finding out that it's been used before. You know, in other words, that was beyond the point.
Why didn't you tell us at that
April press conference? But I told you what my briefing was. And our briefing was
that you had been told, just not at that particular briefing. Because you were very adamant that you didn't know that waterboarding was used.
That is right. We were told in the briefing that I received, we were told that they had legal opinions that this was legal. We were not told that it was that there were other legal opinions to the contrary in the administration, and we were told specifically that waterboarding was not being used. When my assistant told me that the committee had been briefed, now I'm not on that committee anymore. I'm now out of it. We have a new that ranking member wrote the appropriate letter to protest that. And then we find out, just slightly more subsequent to that, that perhaps they were using waterboarding long before they tell us. No, but the point is that I wasn't briefed. I was informed that someone else had been briefed about it. I'm only speaking from my, I don't have to stand, I got this. I'm only speaking from my own experience, and we were told that it was not being used. Subsequently, the other members of the committee were informed.
And so were you?
No, I wasn't informed. I was informed that a briefing had taken place. Now, you have to look at what they briefed those members. I was not briefed that. I was only informed that they were briefed, but I did not get the briefing. Well, we'll find out. They mislead us all the time. I was fighting the war in Iraq at that point, too, you know, saying to my members, the intelligence does not support the imminent threat that they are conceding. But what's the point? Yeah, they did. They misrepresented every step of the way. And they don't want that focus on them, so they try to turn the attention on us. But we had to win the election to make the change. We did. President Bush vetoed the bill. We have a new president who is going to do that. But the committees can look into and see the timing of who knew what and when, and what the nature of the briefing was. I have not been briefed as to what they were briefed on in February. I was just briefed that they were informed that some of the enhanced situations were used.
Well, things just got white hot on Capitol Hill. You saw there the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. She has been under pressure, as you may know, to answer more questions about what she knew and when about these extreme interrogation techniques of terror suspects, most specifically waterboarding. She just answered some of those questions and confirmed that she is accusing the CIA of, her words, misleading Congress. She said she wasn't told that waterboarding was actually being used in this one briefing she acknowledges getting when it already had been used. Let's get to Bill Salmon, our D.C. managing editor. Bill, her words are misleading Congress. She's basically accusing the CIA of lying.
Very much so. A reporter asked if she was essentially accusing the CIA of lying, and she basically said she was, that they were misleading Congress. She's about to find out what happens when the Speaker of the House accuses the Central Intelligence Agency of lying, because the intelligence officials are going to have their say now. And all of this is going to, you know, this business about what she knew and when she knew it, which has now become the focus of the story. The irony here is that the torture debate was supposed to hurt Republicans, and instead it seems to be taking down the Democratic Speaker of the House. If only her demeanor you focus on. the nervousness, the defensiveness, the I'm not complicit, I'm not lying. Jon Stewart parodied Nancy Pelosi last night on The Daily Show under an image of the Waffle House and made fun of her. He's going to have a field day tonight. When it gets to that level, it has permeated the national consciousness. She's in trouble here. Yeah,
let's talk about these two briefings just to lay it out for viewers so we understand it. One is in September of '02, and she's claiming at the top of her statement there, I was briefed that intelligence officials told us, as she was head of this committee, that they could use these techniques. They had found a legal justification for them, but that they were not being used. She's saying that they were, that the CIA, that's where she's pointing to them, I guess, that the lie was, according to her, by the CIA, because they had already previously used them. But then she was questioned about 5 months later, this second briefing that occurred. She was not head of the committee anymore, the ranking member anymore, and she claimed, I wasn't briefed, but I was told what happened in that meeting, and that's when it was acknowledged that these techniques had been used. Talk to me about the importance, you will do it much more eloquently than I just did, of those two meetings and what she was trying to parse there, particularly about that second briefing.
Well, in the second briefing, it makes it even more important that she, according to her critics, should have said something, should have objected. And her office put out this line the other day from an unnamed aide to the Speaker that the reason she didn't object was because Jane Harman, a fellow Congresswoman, had written a letter objecting to the use of these techniques, and that Pelosi essentially said, well, it's covered. Harman did a letter, so I don't really need to weigh in on that. Well, that doesn't really cut it. I mean, when you're Speaker of the House and you are talking about, as she just got done talking about, the need for a truth commission, the need for congressional hearings into these enhanced interrogation techniques, you're completely undermining your call for those truth commissions and for those investigations when it comes out that you didn't object to those things. And I think that's why she's squirming so much, because it's a complete contradiction she's caught in. She wants to investigate these things, but when she had the chance to object to them, she clearly didn't, as the details of these two hearings now make clear.
And Bill, then what's to come? I mean, that's a bombshell, what we just witnessed.
Yeah, I think it's not looking real great for Nancy Pelosi right now. I think she's in trouble. Again, the focus of the torture debate now is about Nancy Pelosi, which is an amazing irony. I didn't think this is where we'd end up, but who knows what'll happen? There'll be investigations where there was an indication from Steny Hoyer, the #2 Democrat, the other day, that if there's an investigation, it should include what Nancy Pelosi knew and when she knew it. So when you've got your own Democrats, saying that, then it's not looking real great for you.
What do you expect to hear from the CIA? I mean, run now by Leon Panetta, a guy who knows the ways of Washington as well as anybody.
Well, I'm already hearing, just while she was still speaking, I was getting BlackBerry messages that CIA and intelligence officials are writing their responses right now. They'll be off the record, they'll be on background, but they will make their sentiments clear and are already doing that. And I think, what they know about what Nancy knew and when she knew it will now become abundantly clear, because they're going to cover themselves now. When you're called a liar by the Speaker of the House, you go into a defensive posture and you dump out whatever you know about the Speaker. And I suspect we're going to see some stuff come out about the Speaker now.
Just one last quick question for you, Bill. She talked about releasing the briefing memos, the transcripts, basically. Would they do that?
Well, they might unofficially. I mean, they may not be able to through official channels, but you know how this town leaks like a sieve. So I think one way or another, all this stuff's going to come out.
All right, Bill, thanks for your insight. We were going to continue to watch this.
Yeah, Jane used the word there.